May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Am I the host? Yes, thank you. Try that again. Advanced. Portion of screen. Share. Oh, great. Okay, here we go. Are you okay up there? Can you hear well enough?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Ondy, it's perfect.
Well done, Venerable Dondrop. He saved the day again. Okay. So here we go. So the topic for today is the 12 branches of dependent arising. Let's get that clear. Yeah. They're often called different things like the 12 interdependent links, or what else might they be called? The 12 links. Yeah. So we know them basically as the idea of one going on from another. And the main idea is that actually we create ourselves. Yeah? So it's all to do, so forget God. God doesn't exist here. It's all about self-creation. And that's what we're really learning about. So the topic can sometimes feel a little, I might need to channel Lama Zopa Rinpoche at times and go down to the hell realms with you all, because it can be quite, it's reality. It's not depressing, but it's looking at the side of samsara that is not about so much about, let's get rid of our destructive emotions, let's practice ethics, talk about virtue, talk about all those wonderful things. It's looking at what keeps us in samsara. So it's quite straightforward, yeah? And this diagram, which you will have a wonderful copy of, hopefully, that you can refer to, was actually explained. Guru Shakyamuni himself actually got somebody to draw this under his instruction, and he gave it as a gift to King Rudrayana, as in Daryavadana, for simple folk, and for him to understand what he was talking about. So he realized at a certain stage of his life when he was teaching that he needs something that would get through to everybody. And this diagram is certainly very powerful. So how did the Buddha know? Well, clearly when he became enlightened, the story goes that no matter how far back he looked, he always found a previous birth. Yeah, there was always a previous cause, and in the end, he gave up looking. So actually, there is still a little bit of a mystery around that. So no matter how many eons he went back, he just stopped looking. It was waste of his time, because he never saw a beginning. Hence the teachings on beginningless and endless life. Yeah. But of course, the big positive we've got to keep here is that there is that potential for us to escape what we see here as the wheel of life, cyclic existence, samsara, and become Buddha. So he's just saying, look, this is how it is. You think you're free, but actually you're in prison. You think you've got this great life going on and you can do this and you can have hope and you can go somewhere and you can meet lovely people and have families and holidays and all the rest of it. Actually, you're in prison. Yeah. And you're imprisoned by what you are creating for yourself all the time through your ignorance of the fact that this is prison. Yeah. Because we think it's a lovely garden. Yeah. And sometimes we know it's not a lovely garden, but we always think, well, once we get over this hurdle, terribly resilient we are, human beings. Yeah. Once we get over this, then there'll be a nice garden. So we're working for that all the time, hoping there'll be something better. And actually, the Buddha taught that the only way you could make things better is to engage with the path and destroy our ignorance with the insight of wisdom and be liberated, find nirvana. So that's kind of what we come to when we're looking at this. In Sanskrit, it's actually called the Bhava Chakra, B-H-A-V-A, Bhava Chakra, wheel, you know, wheel of life, life wheel. So that's the wheel of becoming. Becoming is important here. Due to the existence of this, something else becomes. Due to the production of this, that is the result. So always one after the other. So let's have a look at this wonderful symbolism of, you can have a look at your images and have a look at this, because before we get on to the little jelly beans around the outside, all the different links, it's good to know what the whole picture is, because it all interweaves. So this is the Lord of Death, Yama. And he's basically showing that everything that is in existence is going to come to an end. And he has us all in his grip. Now, if you have a look on his head, you will see 5 skulls. And they symbolize the 5 aggregates. Now, I'm going to do a little bit more in depth, hopefully, as we go through the day on the 5 aggregates. But they're very important to this story, because what the Buddha is pointing to is that actually there is nothing about us that exists except this bundle of experience. Form, our physical matter. Feeling, which is the identification of pleasure, displeasure, and neutral. Compositional factors, think composing, making, karma, yeah, what's already there, what the impetus is, what you're going to create in the next moment. Volition, the will to make these things happen, and our consciousness, yeah, and our consciousness. All of these are changing all the time, yeah. And again, the story is about which direction are we taking them. Yeah? But they are all described as contaminated aggregates. And they're contaminated with our delusions and the afflictions that have brought us into being. And those delusions and afflictions are centrally ignorance. Yeah? And then as a result of ignorance, the aversion and the attachment. So if we move on from that, just to get the whole picture, he's got 3 eyes. He's got his wisdom eye there. So all-powerful Lord of Death. His tiger skin at the bottom, you've got that funny little tail and the claws coming out, represents fearlessness. Yeah, fearlessness. So actually what you've got is death holding cyclic existence, but actually the fearlessness is what's going to take us to wisdom. Yeah. We do have to be fearless. We do have to have courage, because it's a huge thing to admit that we're in samsara. I think that's why, Paulie, you mentioned your friend. I think that's why people find it so difficult. Because once you go, oh, I get this, then everything else you're chasing in samsara, you know, the hedonistic pleasures, the relationships, the this, that, and the other that we all kind of grasp onto, becomes like dust. You know, we see it and it's just going to disappear. We know it's going to change. We know it's going to stop. We know everything is subject to death and impermanence. So his 4 limbs hanging on to the wheel there represent the 4 limbs of birth, sickness, aging, and death, from which none of us can escape. The 6 realms I'll come to in a moment. Have a look at who's standing out there. That's the Buddha. And in that image, there's no little sun, but in this one, pleasingly, there is. So he's standing on bodhicitta, and the sun is wisdom, liberation, and he's pointing to the cool moon of nirvana. Yeah? Outside the wheel of life there. So very hopeful. Yeah? If you can jump out of this lot, then you're going to have eternal bliss. Yeah. And then, you know, with bodhicitta, you're going to help others do that too. So there's your hope standing up there, above there. So let's have a look at the 6 realms, because we're going to do the rest in more detail with each slide. So we'll just focus on the 6 realms. So if you look at the bottom realm, you'll see that that should be the hell realm. Terrible, terrible ongoing tortures. What I'd like you to keep in mind as well while we're looking at this is the different ways in which we can understand samsara. So we all go through psychological states that are like the realms, but they're definitely taught as actual places of experience. Now, Lama Yeshe always taught that, you know, the hell realms isn't a place over there or down there. It's literally our neurotic state of mind that takes us there. So it's our, in the same way that we can create a fantasy, we can create hell, but that does not mean we don't experience the physical torment. And we only have to think of our dreams to know how bizarre they can be. Yeah. So if we are engaged, if our karma ripens for us to be reborn in a hell realm, and one can only imagine, you know, that there are beings, one can only look at and think and imagine beings at the moment who, when they die, because they are responsible for so much pain and cruelty and disaster, that they will have a neurotic state of mind that experiences hell. Yeah. So now, when this wheel of life used to be taken from place to place long after Buddha taught, you know, it became a regular teaching tool. So people used to roll up the scroll, monks or nuns, probably monks more likely, and they used to get to a village and kind of pin it up on the tree, and all the locals would come round and they'd use this to go, look, you know, and to teach about the nature of existence, and then to encourage them to be virtuous. So, you know, very essential sometimes in societies to use fear to get people to be good. We can certainly see that in our Christian tradition, can't we? Yeah. I mean, it's not something I think Westerners these days respond very well to, but nevertheless, it has been something in religion. If you're not good, you'll go to hell. Yeah. Not kind of, if you're good, then, you know, wonderful things, but, you know, be good. So there's always this guilt thing going on. Yeah. Now, I don't think there's guilt here. That guilt isn't a factor. It is not even a word in Tibetan anyway, I don't know about Indian, but it's Sanskrit, but it's certainly not a word in Tibetan. So when the Buddha was showing all these 6 realms, he was showing the potential of our mind to create an existence for ourselves. Yeah? Okay, I hope that makes sense. So you've got the hell realms. Now, they're the hot hells. There's also cold hells. So there's different kinds of hells. But if I watch a David Attenborough program, I don't know if you know about him, but he does all these nature programs, you know, and they're looking at polar bears up in the Arctic or whatever. I think, ooh, cold hell. Fancy living up there, you know. Oh, that to me is a bit of a cold hell. Or if I look at sometimes now when you see climate change and all the temperatures are going up and up and up, it can be a bit of a hot hell. So we can kind of get a feel, you know, through our own world of what these realms experience. And certainly the hell realms, one only has to look in places like Syria, you know, where there's war, all these terrible places of war or devastation, to think they're going through hell right now. And that's an expression, isn't it? When we can say, I'm going through hell right now. And that's what you mean. You're tormented. Yeah? Tormented. So then we go round to, well, let's go round what I'm looking at clockwise. You've got the hungry ghosts there, sometimes shown in different places. And this is too small for me to see. But anyway, down there in the lower realms, you've got the hungry ghosts, the hell beings, and the animals. So the hungry ghosts are beings who are described. I mean, literally, when I first heard about them, I thought, oh, really? It's just unbelievable. But you have these beings who have tiny, narrow little throats and great big swollen bellies. And wherever they go to find food or nourishment, as soon as they get there, it turns into pus and poison. Yeah? So if we relate that to a psychological state, we could be seeing extreme greed and desire and clinging and grasping that create this state of mind. That whatever you get, it's going to turn sour within you, and you're never satisfied. There's no satisfaction as a hungry ghost. And of course, we often relate the hungry ghost realm to being what happens to, you know, when we hear about ghosts, we think hungry ghosts. Do they literally look like that? Or is it an experience of they're still clinging to this life? So they don't move on, they get stuck. They kind of get stuck. So there's lots of grasping. So a very unpleasant place to be reborn. Yeah. So then we've got the animal realm, and we know all about the animals. That's mainly said to be desire and greed, as well. Lust. Sexual misconduct is meant to take you into the animal realms, and great greed. And of course, we can only contemplate their suffering. We see it enough. We often think our animals are having lovely lives if they're our pets. But Lama Zopa says that if you were in the mind of a dog for 1 second, you would do everything you could to escape samsara. That's not me, that's Lama Zopa. So I think, you know, if you see a dog, there's a lot of insecurity there. There's a lot of need for comfort. And there's a lot of, you know, then they're comfortable if they're with a human being. Very interesting. Every animal is different. And obviously it's better karma to be born an animal that doesn't kill. Yeah? Because they just keep repeating the killing. And you've got your throwing karma and you've got your completing karma. And I like to think of the Queen's corgis. Don't suppose it's not even relevant anymore. Great, great throwing karma, you know, to be looked after by the queen and have everything you want, but not great completing karma in that they became dogs, you know. Yeah, so, and if you only have to look in India or certain place in the East to see all these terrible, terrible treatment of dogs and how skinny they are and how infected they are and all that. So there's many, many different kinds of karma there, even within the animal realm. So those are the lower realms, okay? And then you've got the upper realms, and you've got the human realm to the left there, where they're working and making love and all sorts. And then you've got the god realms. Now, the god realms, you've got two god realms. You've got your devas and your asuras, and it's to do with jealousy. So, you know, one realm seems to have everything, but then once they die, well, once they know they're dying after hundreds or thousands of years or whatever, terrible, terrible suffering, terrible suffering. Now, the jealous gods, as we call them as well, are the ones who look at the gods and want what they've got. So they're always fighting them. So very strange, very strange. Competition going on all the time. So that is a kind of basic look at all the realms in which we can be reborn. Oh, I'll have to do this. It's got stuck. Right, okay. So let's look at the hub here, because we haven't done that yet. Okay, so right at the hub in the center of the wheel of life, you've got the pig that represents ignorance, and it's biting the tails of aversion and attachment. Attachment is the pigeon, sometimes seen as a cockerel in some wheels of life, and the snake is hatred, aversion. So greed, attachment, and they're all coming out of ignorance. And there you see the outer hub that is showing our karma. The black, which is showing us the lower realms we might be reborn in, and the white, the upper realms in the higher realms of rebirth, which are preferable. Now, although the gods sound kind of nice, which they can be for hundreds of thousands of years, they're actually not seen as a good place of rebirth, because when you die in the god realm, such is your shock and horror, and such is your fear, that you end up being reborn in the lower realms. I don't know any of this from personal experience. I'm just telling you. This is the story, okay? Or I can't remember from personal experience, I should say. But this is the story, okay? And this is where it all comes. So there you've got the, yeah, we're going round and round, yeah? We're going round and round depending on what karma we create. And again, the teachings of the Buddha and the teachings of our lamas are that we have been these beings again and again and again and again and again. That we have no conception how long an eon is, right? And how many eons we have been circling in samsara. Samsara. And all because of ignorance, yeah? All because of ignorance. So if you look at this, this verse here, what the Buddha's pointing to is ethics. You know, once we engage with ethics, with great conscientiousness, not kind of, you know, your average ethics, but really looking at the way we think and how that's affecting what we say and what we do, only then can we start to create better rebirths, come into contact with the Dharma regularly, because it's on our consciousness, and therefore make progress towards enlightenment, yeah, which will bring an end to suffering. And here we have to understand that suffering is being afflicted by the three poisons, the root delusions from which all other delusions arise. That is our suffering. So a lot of the time while we're experiencing our everyday life, we're not even aware of what suffering we're going through. It's so normal, isn't it? Our suffering is so normal that you could go to bed at the end of the day and think, well, that was a good day. Because it's not like gross suffering. You know, you're not being tormented, knives put through you, can't get food or drink, or any of these other sufferings that we're seeing in the lower realms. But for us, our suffering is just this subtle level of discontent all the time. And also this subtle level of the ego questioning itself. You know, this battle between our higher self and our ego all the time, this confusion that we live with, yeah, it's normal. It's kind of normal. So on a good day, we have this subtle level of suffering going on, and life isn't so bad. The sun's shining, you know, we can get to the market, we can have a nice lunch, see people, and then at the end of the day, we're quite content. That's fine. It's absolutely fine, as long as we recognize and don't forget, otherwise we become complacent within samsara. Suffering from depression, when somebody's ill, they've lost their job, nothing makes any sense, and they sit there and you teach them the Dharma for a few months and then they're gone. And I've said this before, I know, but it's so common. Once their life picks up and they get a new job or they meet somebody new, they're in love again, they're off. Samsara's okay. That was just a dip. That was just a dip, yeah? So the real practitioners are those who recognize this subtle level of suffering that is going on with us all the time. And we don't have to call it suffering. We can call it discontent. We can call it confusion. But we do need to recognize that we can't control whether things go well or things go bad. We don't know what karma is ahead of us. So if we don't engage with ethics, with great conscientiousness, as Buddha says here, we're going to keep going up and down on the roller coaster. Okay, so here we go with the jelly beans, I like to call them. I've sort of separated them out so we can look at them one at a time. So on the outside, these are our 12 links. So if you look at Yama there, he's got his teeth right in the middle. And then we're starting at, I guess, 1 o'clock. Yeah, that's where we're starting. So we're going to have a look at these, and then I'm actually going to ask you to have some discussion, you know, between yourselves and come back to break up the day. So let's get an understanding of this first of all. I will do a bit of reading just to clarify. So here we've got the blind man. Looks more like a woman with that dress, but apparently it's a man. A blind person, yeah? The blind person symbolizes having no conception that they're not real, that we're not real, yeah? We think, and I'm using that loosely, we're not real in the sense that we're solid, inherently existing, Ondy through and through, whoever we are, and that whatever we're experiencing is relating to this solid existence self. Ignorance is a consciousness, all of our consciousnesses that conceive of inherent existence as symbolized by a blind man. So anybody who thinks they inherently exist are ignorant. It's nothing to do with our level of intellectual ability. Yeah? Nothing to do with our intelligence. It's to do with that basic understanding of I don't exist in the way I do, in the way I think I do. I'm blind. Therefore, if you think of the symbolism of the blind person, you're just walking through life not really seeing what's going on. We really aren't. It's completely colored by our projections on what our ego is determining is happening in order to defend ourselves and look after ourselves. Yeah, this fragile I, self-cherishing me, I exist. It's completely an illusion, and it causes so much problem. So of course, people who hang on to samsara and reject these kind of teachings, you know, they're always kind of moving through life in that hopeful manner. They're hopeful. They're always hoping for something better. They're always working towards something better. And that may be great for humanity, but unless it is supported by the understanding that actually we are empty of inherent existence, we do not exist in the way we think we do, then they're not actually progressing on the path. They may be creating some good karma, but until we know this, we're really stuck. We're really stuck. We're just going to keep winding ourselves round and round. So then we go on to compositional action or karma. You can call it karma. And here's our potter on the wheel making pots. Yeah. So through not understanding, we generate karma, compositional actions, symbolized by the potter. So I've said this before, our aggregates are appropriated due to actions contaminated by ignorance and the afflictive emotions. There's a phrase for you. Let's get our heads around that, okay? Our aggregates, so the form, the feeling, the compositional factors, the volition, the consciousness, all the bits, you know, open up a box of IKEA, you know, and you've got a table, or there's Ondy in there, but there's a form, that's exactly what we are. There's nothing inherently existing. There's no soul. There's nothing solidly. It's just a changing nature of Ondy there. Okay, so our aggregates are appropriated due to actions. So in other words, the aggregates are continuing to be contaminated by our karma. So while we're making karma, then the aggregates will survive. Yeah? The aggregates will die and then be reborn in some realm. Aggregates will continue. That is not great. That is not a great thing, because we've got the afflictive emotions and the delusions and the ignorance within us, so we're going to continue to contaminate. It is only when we realize emptiness and understand the true nature of existence and achieve liberation, you know, as shown by the little moon up there, all cool in many ways. It is only then that we are going to be uncontaminated. And an uncontaminated being doesn't have any of this physical form going on at all. Beings of light, you're enlightened beings. There's nothing impure, it's total purity. Yeah? So it doesn't sound very nice that we're contaminated, does it? It really doesn't. But we have to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. Yes, we are contaminated. We do have afflictions, but actually, here we are all conscientiously taking on board ethics and practicing the Dharma and doing something about it. None of this will be lost. None of this will be lost. So you can see that this is like an explanation, but also a wake-up call to anybody in that village where this, beautiful tunka or whatever is going to be pinned, to get on practicing virtue. And all we have to do is look around the world to see, that all suffering is caused by non-virtue, due to desire. Yeah. So, destroyed ignorance, destroy the arising of our aggregates. We would not exist without contaminated aggregates. Compositional action is one of the 5 aggregates. Okay? Okay. So we're all okay with that. There will be time for questions on that, I promise you. So write them down, but hopefully they'll start to clarify anyway. Okay. Consciousness is also an aggregate. Name and name and form. So let's have we've talked about consciousness already. Consciousness bears the karmic imprints and joins past to present and future, unless we become enlightened. Yeah. Compositional action generates consciousness. Because we've got the karma of delusions, it generates the consciousness to continue, because the karmic imprints are on the consciousness. Yeah. Once there are no karmic imprints on the consciousness, we're enlightened, because the karmic imprints are destroyed through understanding the nature of reality, through understanding emptiness. There is residual karma. It's kind of like when the Buddha taught until he was 80, and then he died of some poison mushroom thing. Yeah. And the stories go, well, he chose to die or whatever. But whatever happened, when you become enlightened as a being, as a person, as a human being, you don't just disappear in a puff of smoke. You can do, actually, but more of that on Losa. Oh. So so come and watch the film on Losa, and we'll talk about disappearing into rainbow lights and things like this. But generally, a person will, attain liberation through their mundane actions of following the Eightfold Path or the 6 perfections, the paths of virtue, and then they will achieve nirvana, and they'll have nirvana in that form. And then when they die, there's no more karma. So they got that residual karma left over. Oh, it's fascinating, isn't it? What an explanation. Only the Buddha could have come up with it. So the name and form. So the mental and physical. Oh, yes. Yeah, so the consciousness is symbolized by the monkey. Yeah. Let's see what Andy's got for this. Composition of consciousness. Yeah. Consciousness is the link upon which the potential of a compositional action has been imprinted and is then carried forward from one life to another. It is depicted as a monkey, a restless and agile animal, never sitting still but constantly on the move. As it continually climbs up and down the branches of trees, it experiences ever-changing perspectives, depending on where it happens to be at any given moment. Okay, nice description. Yeah. So then we have the boat. This is name and form. Our name and form are karmically created. And so the man in the rowing boat, the boat is form and the person is the 5 aggregates in the fertilized egg. So it's moving forward. So just like the monkey is, you know, as it swings, it's joining past, present, and then future, swinging again, unless it becomes enlightened. And it then takes on the mental and physical aggregates generated by the consciousness. So we become who we are due to the consciousness creating it. Yeah. Clear as mud, isn't it? Okay, I think that's enough for the time being, because I would like you to discuss, have some discussion and feedback before we have lunch. So try and get your head around it. Ask questions if you need to, but I would like the discussion points. And I don't know if you've... Okay, I'm going to go to a new share now. New share. In case they are on the website, I believe. And here they are. So what I would like you to do, what I'm used to doing with groups, I love to do this with groups because it really sorts things out, because once you start talking about it, you know whether you understand it or not. Yeah. So there's a couple of discussion points here. The first 2, that'll be enough. We've got time the rest of the day for the others. So what I would like you to do, up there in space, you can go into groups of whatever you decide, Jayla. Yeah. And in here, what have we got? We got 3, 6, 7, 8. We could have 2 groups of 4. Yeah. And discuss these. So the first one is quite straightforward. The underlying requirement in these teachings is understand and accept the continuity of consciousness. Without this as a basis, the wheel of life is nonsense. If you don't believe in the continuity of consciousness. So do you have a one life view? Do you struggle with the idea of rebirth? And if someone was looking at this, could they still find meaning? Could this still be a guidance for one's life? And then the second one, and you can decide, well, let's talk about this one first, or this is what we're interested in. I don't mind. It's just to get you talking. Ignorance. Do you agree with the term? Are you ignorant? Yeah. It's a tough word. It's very harsh, ignorant. Yeah. We use it as a term of denigration and criticism, calling somebody an ignorant person. Slightly different meaning here. So, and for sure, just go through, and anything you're not sure about, we've got a lot of experience in the room. Some people will have done this before, and you can discuss till 11:15. It's 5 to 11 now. And then we'll come back as a group. Is that okay, Jayla? And then get some feedback. Yeah, then we've got plenty of time for a meditation as well. Okay, great. Is 15:15 long enough? Gives you 1/4 of an hour, or do you want 20 minutes? So we're just, I think all the rooms are, have they closed now?
Yes, everybody's here.
They're coming round. So we've got 4 groups. We've got 2 here and 2 in space. So I wonder if we could have some feedback from a group in here, and then we'll go up there, as I call it, and come back. Okay, see what feedback we're getting. So I'll keep the sharing the discussion points. Oh, don't we need to see everybody? Oh, You're not seeing anybody, are you? How do they? I'd have to lose the share, wouldn't I? Okay, I'm going to lose the share. Just let me remind myself what I've asked you to do. One life view, ignorance. Okay, got it. Stop share. Can't do that. Get rid of that. Stop share. That's nice for the discussion. Okay. Here we go then. Okay, so some feedback, please. What did we discuss in the group with Paula and Bade and Judith and this lady whose name I don't know? Elaine. Nice to meet you. Please. Yeah, go on then, Paula. Go for it. I think you might need a mic for upstairs. Yep. It's coming.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
There's a
Is it on? Tap it.
it doesn't magnify. Is that, can they hear me?
I can't hear a word.
We can hear you.
Oh,
Well, both those topics are extremely complex, and the ignorant.
Speak up for me as well.
Yeah.
Because when you've got
Both those topics are extremely complex, and the ignorance was easier to interpret only in the sense of the levels of ignorance. There's the ignorance of someone who is just unconscious in this world and not striving to do anything, and then there's the ignorance of the wisdom of Buddhism. So there's several levels of ignorance, and then it's the levels of people who don't care and are just going to stay stuck in unconsciousness and keep doing what they're doing. And then there's some of us who are the Buddhist community, and others are trying to move through that around the wheel to try to get better sense of how we can serve other sentient beings and get out of that. And we also talked a little bit about, well, if you do that, you have to be more aware of your delusion and what the antidote is to move out of ignorance. And then the other section, we were talking about a lot of other religions and stuff. I don't know what else to say about the other section.
Well, maybe somebody else. Yeah, Bade. Thank you, Paula. Can I just comment on that as we go through? That's a very important point, the levels of ignorance, because we're engaged. Yeah, we're engaged Buddhists. Other people might be spiritual practitioners, so they're engaged with the path. So it's not until we engage with something, because there's a lot of people who are intellectually stimulated by Buddhism. You know, they might learn it to. I know in school they teach it, and so they can know all about Buddhism, but not in the slightest bit engage with it. And the other important thing, which is actually definitely the second aspect of ignorance, one is not understanding the nature of emptiness, and the other is denying cause and effect. And that's absolutely crucial to all of this discussion. So thank you for that. Bade.
So maybe the first question on the discussion topics about whether we can find meaning in the 12 links without assuming or believing in the continuity of consciousness. So we were talking about different religions, and we just thought it was, I don't know, I say we have inclusive research, but just saying our final report is to ask the question, can you break free of ignorance in one life, I guess, then? Because if the wheel of life is trying to...
Whoa, that was snow. Not a monkey on the roof. Look, it's a foot.
I guess that's how I was interpreting, like rewording the question. Can you break free?
Can you say that again, please?
Yeah, I guess I just ended up rewording the question in the first discussion topic as, can you break free of ignorance in one life? Exactly, if you don't believe in rebirth.
Can you
break free of ignorance in one life?
Break free of ignorance in one life. That's how you reworded it.
If you don't believe in rebirth.
If you don't believe in rebirth. And what decision did you come to? No. Well, I guess it's interesting, isn't it? Because sooner or later, in a lifetime, we will become enlightened. We will break free of ignorance. That will happen in one lifetime. Yeah? But what we will have need to created before is a whole string of, compositional factors, which then ripen into our enlightenment, into all the conditions for enlightenment in that lifetime. So it's certainly hard to imagine that somebody who hasn't a concept of cause and effect and what ignorance is over many lifetimes could do that. So there's two aspects to that. At some point, we will, in one lifetime, get enlightened. But all that has to be with us on the consciousness in order for all those conditions to ripen. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Shall we go upstairs now to one group? Okay. Let's have feedback. Who's going to be the spokesperson to begin with? Anna's group. I don't know who's doing what here.
So we were Erin, Susan and myself. So I'll let Erin or and Susan maybe add a bit.
So who's feeding back?
Susan, would you like to feed back some?
Okay, sure. First of all, I joined late. I had my time mixed up. I'm on West Coast time, and so I apologize for coming in late like that. Anyway, so my question was, if we have a one life view, I'm in this one life. I can't see past lives. I can't see future lives, and so I'm ignorant of anything that ever happened in a past life, and I don't know if I had a past life. I don't know that was.
Just a moment, please. Can everybody hear this? No, it's just me then. Oh, you can't. Well, yeah, Paula and me suffer from the same condition. So can you speak a bit as clear as possible? I'm not saying you're not, but there's a few of us who are struggling. Just a few.
Okay,
Susan,
can you hear me better now? Can you hear me?
a little bit better, yes.
I'm speaking really loud.
I thought this would make it better, easier for me, but hang on, let me try again. I don't want to miss what you're saying. Well, if I do miss, somebody translate it for me, please. Yeah, so I get it properly. Okay, try again, Susan.
Okay, thank you. I first of all wanted to say I'm sorry I joined late. I'm on West Coast time and it just slipped past me. Anyway, it's a very good question. I am in this one life. I'm ignorant in this one life. I fully am aware of that. I keep doing the same mistakes over and over, and fortunately have the Dharma as an inspiration to go beyond that. But I don't know what happened in past lives. I don't know what will happen in future lives. And so I don't know if I believe in that or not. I can't say with certainty, but I do know that in this one life that I am aware of, the Dharma, I can see cause and effect happening. And the Dharma is like the way to understand it, the only way I can understand it. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, so I'm going to say what I think Susan said, that because she doesn't remember, she's got no idea whether she's lived before or not, so she can only you're only dealing with what you're experiencing in this lifetime.
Yes.
So what is it that is making, how does cause and effect come into this? Because I think we had a conversation the other night, Susan, about karma.
Yes, we
Is
did.
it karma is it cause and effect karma that you struggle with?
Well, no, it's not that. I can see cause and effect karma in my own life. I can
Right.
see the results of the
In your own life.
painful experience or whatever, happy experience. I can see what are the causes. Sometimes it takes a long time to see that. Sometimes it might take a lifetime to see that. But
Okay.
I cannot understand what happened in a past life. And so I can't say with certainty that I have had a past life. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, I think I've got that. I mean, yeah, there is a strand of Buddhist teachers who seem to be coming out of the West, and they're very respected scholars, and are saying that it's not necessary to believe in the stream of consciousness going through different lifetimes. And I think if you can't kind of get rebirth, I find it really difficult to understand cause and effect, because although you can see it in your lifetime, if you look at what's happening to people, and I think we talked about this, the innocent children, you know, who suffer terrible things, there is no rhyme nor reason within this life. It is a chaotic theory that there is chaos, and unless you believe that there is some incredibly difficult to understand reason why God is creating suffering for us, yeah, and for those beings. So I guess we have to leave that alone unless anybody else in your group came up with something else which might be interesting. Anna. Was it Anna, Erin, and Susan? Yeah? Have you got anything further to add? No.
I was bringing to the group because I've suffered times of joy, times of suffering in quite extreme ways, really. And in both instances, I don't necessarily see where they've come from, especially some of the suffering sides, like unbelievable.
Mhm.
And I don't think I've done anything that bad in this life to be experiencing
Mhm.
such life events of such a massive magnitude. So it's convenient for me, but it makes sense for me to understand that maybe the causes of these now effects coming into fruition, myself in this present life being a catalyst for them to come to fruition, are from previous lifetimes.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
can't see
Yeah.
I can't see the future and I can't see the past, but I just know
Yeah.
one moment does lead on to the next.
Yeah. I suppose the usefulness of this, if you do have an issue with the ideas of rebirth, is to kind of have an understanding of your own karma in this life and deal with it as Susan says, you know. So if everything else is too vast, you can still get meaning from the 12 dependent links of how you've come into being and how the karma is created. So that makes sense. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's have something from this group. What did
Well, we talk a little in terms of the continuity of existence, and that seems to be like we just got that, and some people don't, you know. And then we jumped over to the boat.
Yeah, I think,
Oh, I'm
sorry, we need a microphone.
missed all of that. Let's see.
Right, I think you're gonna have to start again so that
Okay.
everybody up here can hear as well.
All right, sorry, guys. So we started a little talking about the continuity of existence and like getting it or not. And some people were saying, yeah, it's amazing how long ago like this existed and that we are still kind of even thinking about it. So that's like actively saying, no, this is not true, or we haven't been aware of this. For those more recent civilizations who think they know better, you know, was the term used. And then we started talking about the boat, you know, and being carried across and form, and when consciousness comes in. And then we shifted a little to ignorance, and the ignorance, it was like, to me, emptiness by itself is not meaningful, because this is empty, you know, it's empty of coffee as well as inherent existence. And usually when we say emptiness in a Buddhist term, at least my exposure, we mean empty of inherent existence. We don't mean empty of coffee. We don't mean empty of these other things. Emptiness means empty of inherent existence.
Yes.
So when we say ignorant, what are we saying ignorant of? Ignorant, and you said longer, and I don't know it enough, but my concept is it's ignorant of the fact that we see everything through our own eyes. On that, that's the core ignorance, and that's maybe mainly my ignorance, knowing ignorance. But also in the group was the ignorance that we are distracted from understanding reality, because we exist through our aggregates.
Yes.
You know, so we don't reflect on, or like someone was using in one of the other lectures, the observer is not observing all this information, putting it together. We're just lost
Yes.
into these aggregates of feeling and volition and so forth. And that separates us from us, or the true us, or the Buddha nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are some of the thoughts that we.
Thank you.
talked about.
That's very helpful. And it's interesting to look at the different practices in Buddhism. For instance, the 4 applications of mindfulness enable us to increase and enhance our awareness of, for instance, feelings, you know, and our form. So they are quite focused on our aggregates. And as we increase our observational abilities, we're able to combat ignorance through that as well. So, you know, always with Buddhism, there are so many different ways that you can come at combating ignorance and developing compassion, or everything in the path, all the virtues. There's different methods to do it. So I like the idea of the observer that you brought in order to understand ignorance. And what I wanted to do before we get the last group is that I didn't think I'd given name and form enough information. So again, I'm reading. The link of name and form begins at the moment of conception and refers to A, the physical attributes of the developing embryo or form, or B, its non-physical or mental attributes referred to collectively as name. So this link is symbolized by the ferryman rowing a couple across a river, where the boat and ferryman symbolize the embryonic body. The couple signify the mind. And it is this unity of body and mind that supports the 5 aggregates as they traverse the lake of life. So again, form, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. Yeah, it's very, very precise link how consciousness creates name and form. Yeah. Okay, let's have the last group, and then we're going to do a meditation for lunch on I, the emptiness of I. Okay, who's the last group? Who's talking? We've got, Erin was in the other group. We've got Space, we've got Jayla, Charlene, and then we've got Kim. I don't think Kim was in a group. I don't think Space was. Kathleen, Karen?
I'll go, and then please jump in if I'm saying something wrong, please. So number 3, we all agreed that we didn't quite know what an aggregate was. And so we Googled it, we talked about it, we debated it. found that it was we felt that we just didn't quite understand the question and we're more confused than
Oh,
anything.
really?
Kodo, did you have something to say? Oh, Charlene?
You didn't understand the question. What, the one about could you believe, could the wheel of life be useful to you if you only had a one life view?
Oh, no, I'm talking about number 3.
The ignorance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Number 3, yes.
So what did you talk about for 20 minutes then?
So we spoke.
You must have talked about something.
So we got all the way down to we grasped the concept until it said this is how the object is a hallucination. The ignorance that motivates karma is hallucinated with the respect to the nature of I. That's kind of where the wheels fell off for us. Am I correct?
The eye is a hallucination. Was that the right question even? Oh, it was the second one. I haven't got the questions in front of me now, so. Sorry? Okay.
Oh, it sounds like we did the wrong ones. We did number 3 as well.
I thought they'd done number 3. Yeah, I thought you'd done that. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Well, that's fine. That's fine. I think, has anybody got a question arising now before we do the meditation? Buddy, you might need the. You know, well, the aggregates are seen, we have form, and the way that we experience the world is through our senses, which is part of our form, yeah? And then this is one of the applications of mindfulness that you do. You do it on mindfulness of body and the breath, and you do it on mindfulness of feelings. Because what happens as a result of our form and our senses, we experience the world, yeah? And when we experience the world due to the compositional attributes that, you know, the karma and the conditioning that we're carrying forward, we have feelings. So feelings is not an aspect, it's a mental factor. It's a mental factor. So feelings of pleasure, pain, whatever. So there's that aggregate. And as a result of those feelings, we then form a link with the next action that we're going to take. So for instance, you know, I don't like this cup of water, I throw it on the ground. That's a compositional action. Yeah. So that links with that. And volition is in there because again, that's to do with what we've brought in with us, which we'll actually go into description of the 5 aggregates a bit later because it is complicated. And then whatever that is, it's then an imprint on our consciousness, which we carry forward. So it's only through having this form and the feelings that come with it and the karma that's all contaminated by afflictions. I'm trying to explain this the best I can because it is difficult. It then goes on to the consciousness. That the karmic imprint is then on the consciousness. Does that make sense? At the moment, Yeah, it's not easy. It's never easy to understand. But hopefully by the time we've gone around the 12 links this afternoon and done a bit more discussion and a bit more teaching on this, we'll get it. I think we need to meditate now. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So we don't need anything up there. So it's just us until lunchtime now. I'm going to use this meditation from Rinpoche, which explains how delusion and karma bind us to samsara. So I'll give you some space within it all. Okay, so just relax and let's do what we usually do. Find our posture, take some deep breaths, let go of the tension, and do mindfulness of the breath. And now you can be particularly aware of your body. This is mindfulness of the body, form, our form. Just breathing in and out. Our karmic creation sitting here. So our motivation here is to deepen our understanding of what we understand to be I, me, mine. And open ourselves up to the concept of being made up of the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, compositional factors, volition, and consciousness. Volition is like discrimination as well. It's another term. So here we are, this bundle of aspects conventionally existing. We exist, but the I that we think we are is a hallucination. So Rinpoche says, first there is the thought that simply labels I upon the aggregates. Just consider how we do that. We don't think of ourselves, we haven't been conditioned to think of ourselves as this bundle. We don't think, oh, this is my 5 aggregates. We think I, solidly, not changing, not depending on the previous moment, not changing into the next moment, creating karma to go on the consciousness. We just think I. He goes on. Then there is the appearance of this I to exist from its own side. Just meditate on what we understand from its own side to mean. This is very much an ego-centered I. Here I am, there is the world. It exists this way because I see it like this. I experience it like this. This is how it is. I am the center of the universe. Rinpoche says, as soon as the thought believes in this appearance to be real, that thought becomes ignorance. I repeat that. As soon as the thought believes in the appearance, I, existing from my own side, center of the universe, as soon as a thought think that's real, the thought becomes ignorance. That thought is ignorance. He says it is a wrong conception because in reality, the object does not exist. This would be any object that you're meditating on, the cup or yourself. Emptiness of phenomena, of objects, emptiness of the self. They're all empty of inherent existence. This is a wrong conception, what is called, in Buddhist terms, a wrong conception. This is how the object is a hallucination. The ignorance that motivates karma is hallucinated with respect to the nature of the I. The ignorance that motivates karma. So whatever action we do, it is motivated by a deluded, afflicted state of mind. Compositional action, volition. Which then imprints on our consciousness, ready to create more afflicted understanding. Now consider the circle of three, the agent, the object, the action that we've been doing. The four immeasurables, of course. I, who am empty of inherent existence. and meditating on the emptiness of inherent existence. And the meditation, which is empty of inherent existence. Let go of the I. Rest in spaciousness. Awareness of your form body. Feelings arising. Karmic tendencies to think, which immediately becomes ignorance, thus perpetrating the continuation of our contaminated aggregates with karmic propensities. And before you come out of your meditation, just recognize the conventional nature of yourself. You do have a name. You do have a past, a present, a future. You do conventionally exist. And you can take that conventional self to lunch. So end your meditation when you're ready. Thank you. So enjoy your lunch, everybody, and we'll see you at 2. Yeah? Great. Thank you. Thank you.